Would you continue a relationship with someone if the whole relationship revolved around lies and manipulation? Most individuals would be quick to respond no, but what happened if you've known this individual since age 4? Would the scenario be different? Growing up, friends come and go, but childhood friends tend to stick around, like my one friend Danielle. Hi, my name is Mari Young. I'm a student at the University of Arkansas in Little Rock in speech communication. Experiencing conflict within relationships is completely normal, although differing toxic tendencies can be difficult to differentiate from. To begin with my case background, I met my childhood best friend Danielle when we just begun kindergarten. I was anxious growing up when it came to new people, but she was one of the first people to ever introduce herself to me. We both went through middle school together, doing almost everything together. Grade 8 graduation was fast approaching, and so was the time for everyone to pick their high school for the next 4 years. My heart was set on attending a local high school called Holy Trinity because of their prestigious high school soccer girls program. While discussing with Danielle about post-middle school plans, she was leaning towards attending a rival high school called White Oaks, which was 5 minutes from Holy Trinity. We ultimately both attended different schools, promising one another that we'll hang out regardless of us attending different high schools. 3 months into freshman year of high school, Danielle and I haven't hung out once. I texted her Friday afternoon, hoping to hang out after school one time, and considering it was the weekend, she'd have more time. She didn't respond till later that evening, explaining that she'd already made plans. Hearing she was bailing again raised so much anger within me, resulting in me texting back, "Why haven't we got together in months and you're bailing again?" This resulted in a heated back and forth conversation of us calling out each other, until I finally responded by saying there's no point in being your friend if I can't see you anymore. Which in turn, Danielle responded bluntly, saying fine, and we ended up not talking for a whole year. A whole year rolled around and we didn't end up talking at all. Next, the relevant communication principle that I decided to pick was mental bracketing. The definition is defined as the process of intentionally separating our intrusive or irrelevant thoughts that may be distracting from listening. An example from my story that illustrates this principle is Danielle struggled with communicating with me, saying that she was unable to hang and would blatantly respond with, "I can't," each time. My example illustrates the principle because if she would process what is being said, instead of turning down the situation immediately, the conflict would have resulted in a different situation. Another communication principle that I decided to use was irresistible. The definition is defined as communication is a dynamic process that cannot be reversed, and once a message is interpreted, the interpretation becomes a part of a person's cognitive history. An example from my story that illustrates this concept is when I texted a message to Danielle, and I believed in her eyes when I texted it wasn't offensive at all, which in fact was completely incorrect in my view. My example illustrates the definition because she viewed the message as a threat and kept the interpretation of the message as a reminder of her own anger. If Danielle would read this paper, our relationship would have been positively influenced through new perspectives and strategies to better understand one another. Another interpersonal ethical implication that I could use to improve my skills would be active listening. The definition, according to the Survival Guide, is referred to the process of pairing outwardly visible positive cognitive listening practices that help address many environmental, physical, and cognitive listening strategies. I chose this concept based on my experience because when Danielle and I were going back and forth arguing at one another, I could have been the bigger person to stop and analyze the situation. I can use this concept to improve my communication by listening to what people have to say before blurting out my thoughts that first come to mind. An ethical implication I could use to improve my relationship that occurred with Danielle could be used to describe as fairness. The definition, according to the Survival Guide, is described as considering all sides of a situation without showing favor to our own. I chose this implication based on my story because during our conflict, neither of us considered one another's side and what we were going through at the moment. We favored our interests first, which put our relationship in jeopardy. I could use this implication to improve my interpersonal relationship by considering each voice in the conflict. Conclusively, it's evident that the conflict is normal amongst relationships and arguments will often erupt in spontaneous ways. Although the exception is differentiating between whether a long-time relationship has developed into toxic tendencies. Through different communicational strategies like active listening, mental bracketing, and an ethical implication, fairness, which is described as considering all sides of a situation without showing favor to our own to help aid conflict within relationships. Relationships may get complicated at times, but in the end, the strongest ones will always last regardless of what may occur. Okay, I'm done. Is it recording?